Hey guys, welcome back to the Engine25 YouTube channel. Um, Pretty excited about today's episode. We're going to be talking Spider-Man No Way Home. It's a pretty exciting. It's been out 10 days now, and it's broken $1 billion. It's setting actual world records in not just COVID records, which is pretty dope, if you ask me. Um, anyway, I'd like to introduce my guest. This is my buddy Wesley. We work together. How are you? How you doing, Wesley?
I'm doing good. How's it going?
It's pretty awesome. Wesley's from the Viewist Productions YouTube channel. He does some pretty funny stuff over there, so you should check that out when we're done. Um, anyway, yeah, let's get started. How pretty start with something pretty general. How'd you like Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yeah, I guess we don't need to explain what it is too much. I think people have they
Yeah, we
probably
can. I
know
mean,
all about it.
that's fair. Yeah.
It's a just a little indie movie, but
Yeah, not no big deal. Nothing. No one's ever heard of Spider-Man before today.
yeah, you see that article going around that was like, how did it make all this money? And it's like,
I mean, I don't know. I
well,
went to an IMAX
it's
screening
Spider-Man.
on Saturday afternoon, and it was packed. Like it
Yeah.
was like not an empty seat.
Yeah, I saw it once on the Friday night that it came out, which I guess technically movies come out Thursday nights now, but we went Friday night and then we went again. It was a Monday that we went, like a Monday during the day, and the crowd was still like applauding and stuff,
Awesome.
like clapping for Daredevil and
And
clapping for everything.
I miss that. And like I like to go to a theater with people, a lot of people who want to be there, and I am one of the idiots who cheers. So it's
Yeah,
it
like
annoys some people, but I have no shame.
yeah, the fact that because I've seen a lot of movies opening day and then I go back and see them like Avengers Endgame when I went opening night. Of course, like the theater was crazy, but then like the I think I went maybe like even the next day or 2 days later, and it was a silent theater, and it felt like a whole different experience. But Spider-Man has legs
Yeah,
apparently. Like
people
people
love
are
Spider-Man.
excited. Yeah, I think he's always just been like a fan favorite for everybody, like me included. And just the fact that there's been all of these different versions and
Yes, and
just
they're
kind of
all in.
celebrates all
Oh,
of
all
them.
right. I usually wait a minute to do
Oh
spoilers,
yeah,
but they're all in this
spoiler alert.
movie.
That was the worst kept secret of
Yeah,
the MCU. But actually, I mean, it was a. I feel like everybody knew it was going to happen, but they never really showed anything, so you weren't sure how or when or to what
except for the
extent.
Invisible Man punching the lizard in
Yeah.
that in the one trailer.
And then there was that guy who leaked a bunch of pictures. And there was that one picture of Andrew Garfield like in front of a green screen that kept coming around, and people are like, "That's definitely from this movie." And Andrew Garfield stayed strong and never broke character and told everyone that he definitely was not in this movie. And
Right. Stop asking me. I can't. I don't care anymore. No. Yeah. So I've gone ahead and thrown the spoiler graphic. I usually wait a little bit, but the movie's been out for 10 days. You should.
yeah, this
Fair
one's
warning again to anybody else. If you're watching this and haven't seen the movie, you should stop and go see the movie.
yeah. This one's kind of hard to talk about without
It really is.
spoiling
No. Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Usually I wait till like halfway through the show, but no. Yeah. It's kind of there's so much here, and it's um and that they got Tobes in the Garf. Like I was, it's the fact that they were being so weird about it, like
Yeah.
that and they weren't even saying no, they're not in the movie. They were just like it was. So to the like, I was kind of getting more and more convinced it was all just a red herring, and we were going to get the villains and not the Spider-Man. Um,
I thought all along, I was like, why would you give us the villains and not like go all the
oh,
way?
I agree, but Sony's made bad decisions before. Like, did you
That's
see
true.
the new Venom movie? Because I didn't, and I bet it was terrible.
uh it's it's fun.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say it's good, but I think those movies are a lot of fun
that's
in
fair.
a and it's only 90 minutes, so gotta hand it to them
I mean, that
with
helps.
that one.
The we'll
Yeah.
see how the Morbius movie turns out. That one's gonna be weird.
Yeah, it looks like it could be cool. I don't think it's gonna do Spider-Man numbers. Also, it this is kind of sidetracked, but uh it feels like No Way Home really explained like the Sonyverse versus the MCU with this whole like, oh, Tom Hardy's Venom was transported to the MCU
Right.
universe. But now with Morbius, we see Michael Keaton Vulture in the
Yeah.
trailer,
So I
and
mean,
it
so is it
throws
a
everything out of whack
is
again.
it a Michael Keaton variant? I don't know. There is a we shouldn't talk about this for too long, but if you look in the trailers for Morbius, there's like a poster of
Andrew
the
Garfield Spider-Man,
no, it's
right?
the Toby Spider-Man. It's got like the
Oh,
3D webbing, I think.
yeah,
So it's I don't know. Yeah, like it could be another. Who knows? Um,
yeah. And then it says murderer over it, so it makes you think they're talking Mysterio. But
yeah.
then somebody talked about how Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man says he stopped pulling his punches, and they're like, "Oh, what if it's Andrew Garfield Spider-Man being called murderer?"
The multiverse is going to make my brain twitch, and I have all the faith in Marvel Studios. I have very little faith in Sony to get the multiverse right. Um,
Yeah, I feel like Sony at every turn has been trying to screw up what the MCU does right all the time. They're like, well, we're gonna just keep plopping out these like Spider-Man villain movies that nobody wants. Which Venom has its fans, but I
I
don't
don't
know that
know
anyone's
that.
waiting for Craven.
Well, see, it's funny you mentioned. Like, I would rather watch a Craven movie than a Venom movie. But it's just you have to get them right. Like the with villains, it's a hard line to walk. Like they either just become anti-heroes, which is like kind of what he was. I haven't seen the new Venom, but that's what he was in the first one. Um,
Yeah, yeah, it's the
or
same kind of deal.
yeah, or it's just like the Joker movie was a very weird experience. That's like, but it's really ultimately about a very sick person and the system failed him, and this is what happens. But like it's kind of that one's hard to watch. So it's
Yeah, I kind of hope they do what people seem to be begging for after No Way Home, which is bring back Andrew Garfield and have him be the Spider-Man of the Sonyverse and go toe to toe with like Tom Hardy, Venom, and Morbius and whoever. Which I mean, I feel like they kind of need to because you're making all of these Spider-Man villain solo movies, and what is it leading to?
right.
Just
Is it leading to
nothing. No
anything? Like
Spider-Man.
they're connected, but there's no Spider-Man, and it's weird.
Yeah. So they that would be a good. I feel like No Way Home really teed them up to like throw in Andrew Garfield, let Tom Holland keep being MCU Peter Parker, have Andrew Garfield be the Sonyverse Peter Parker. But knowing Sony, they won't do that and they'll just like screw up all the continuity completely
Excellent.
and confuse everyone.
That's what you hope for. Um, so yeah, so the Spider-Man. I asked how you liked the movie, and then we talked about three different things. Yeah. How
That was my bad.
yeah. No, it's all good. Walking out of No Way Home for the first time, how'd you feel?
I mean, we were like on cloud nine. I went and saw it with a big group, and it had been so long since we'd all gone to see something because, I mean, obviously the pandemic, we didn't see anything last year, and then this year it's kind of been,
It's been off and on with me. Like there are times when I feel super okay going to the movies, and then there's a spike, and it's just gets weird again. And
yeah,
we're moving in that direction again right now, which sucks.
yeah, and then on top of that, there just really hasn't been anything that good to come out. Like it's been very scarce, and then here at the end of the year, it got like really good from like maybe like November to December. It got pretty and October, but it was like slim pickings for a while, like at the movie theater. And everything is streaming now. So this felt like the first like big event movie
Right.
since the pandemic and since like Avengers Endgame.
Which was, by the way, 2.5 years ago now, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. We feels like we had our own blip. Like
Yeah.
it seems like it wasn't that long ago, but like it's because we haven't been in a theater hardly at all these past couple of years. But
Um,
yeah, our theater was going nuts for every little thing that happened, and it was awesome. It's everything you want when you go see one of these movies.
it really like it's oh I moved the wrong thing. It's really everything. Like it's no, yeah, it's everything and the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, I'm not going to say it's not, a touch on the messy side, but like there's way, I compare it to say Spider-Man 3 but that movie had much less going on than this one, but was a much bigger mess than No Way Home. Like it with No Way Home could have been a disaster, but for the most part, it
Yeah.
works. Like, there are some questions about how, whenever you introduce magic, there's question marks, and it's just like some things are a little weird, but like on the whole, I loved this movie, and the big thing for me is I couldn't believe how much of all these characters that we get. It's the only one that's probably underserved, I would say, is the Lizard. Like
Yeah.
we get, obviously it's Tom Holland's movie, but we get Dr. Octopus, we get the Green Goblin, or for Norman, we get Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn, Jamie Foxx is back. There's a ton of all three of them. There's even a fair amount of Sandman.
Yeah.
And then in the second half of the movie, the two other Spider-Men return, and they play a significant part in like the second. There's a ton of Aunt May in this movie until what happens.
Until there isn't.
Yeah, there's a good amount of no. Yeah, it's just there. The thing I can really commend about No Way Home is, despite there being so much going on, everyone gets at least their moment, except for the Lizard.
Yeah. Well, it always gets dicey when you see a Spider-Man movie is going to have like all of these villains, because like we've been there before with Amazing Spider-Man 2 to a degree,
Yeah,
and Spider-Man 3 for sure, and those both turned out to be kind of bad. And so you see like a bunch of villains are going to be in this, and you're like, okay, I'm excited, but also,
I mean, and that has what's been. I've been terrified that they would try to make a Sinister Six movie for years, and was kind of what they were leading up to with the Garfield movies.
Yeah.
And then it kind of looked like that's what this was going to be, but it's also like it's really
With the
not
the secret basement of villain backpacks and
yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah. But they Marvel's done this before, I feel like, because it was kind of the same feeling with like Infinity War and Civil War and Endgame. You're like, oh my gosh, how are they gonna juggle all of these characters? But then you see it and you're like, well, everybody kind of gets their time to shine and gets their big applause moment and has a pretty satisfying arc. Like Civil War was so many people, but it still felt like Captain America's story, like him
Absolutely.
and Bucky, and you get those good like arcs for every character as well as they can in a 2-hour movie.
And that is, there are people in the world that shit on superhero movies for whatever reason, but like that is a difficult task in any movie. If you have you have 24 people on the call sheet, but all of them still feel like they get the time that they deserve. That's really hard to pull off unless you make your movie 12 hours long, like The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think I don't know. I think they pull it off every time with maybe it'd be debatable with Eternals. Maybe I don't know if everybody gets like a great arc in that, but they pulled it off here for sure. I felt like every villain got a moment, and then we got way more Spider-Man trio than I expected, because what I really didn't want was, oh, here they come during the final battle and they all just fight.
And then they would take off their masks so just long enough that it was him the whole time, and then they'd be gone. Like, so they for instance, they would only really need Tobey Maguire for one scene for like 3 days, and otherwise it's all CGI and a stuntman. Like, no,
exactly.
And that
they gave you everything you wanted, because like you want to see them all team up and like fight, but you get to see them have emotional moment with Tom Holland, Peter Parker, and you get to see them like clowning around and having fun and making jokes. And they really, I mean, people talk a lot of shit about fan service, but I feel like this was the right kind of fan service. Like, it's what you want to see. And if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna get all three of these guys in a room, you gotta make the most of it, and I think they did.
Yes, and I agree completely, and I still think back at this point, wondering how it worked. I've only seen the movie once, but it's I watched a lot of videos and listened to a lot of podcasts about it, and it's nothing short of a triumph in my opinion. Like it could have, like it's I don't think anyone expected it to be as good as it is. Even knowing, probably going in, all the secrets that it was going to have. Anyway, yeah. So the movie starts right where the last one, where Far From Home, let off, where Mysterio had this video he'd made revealing that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, that I guess he leaked to the Daily Bugle when he died or something. So then and this was the thing that I've wanted since the MCU said they were doing Spider-Man. I wanted J.K. Simmons back as J. Jonah Jameson, and they gave it to me in Far From Home. And then so I've been excited to see where they take this, since they, I just wanted I wanted JJ to be like the one character from the other movies that gets cast again. You know what I mean? It's but
it really speaks to how good the casting is in those Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies,
does.
where they're like, we want to do Green Goblin. Who should we get? Oh, we'll get Willem Dafoe.
Get the craziest man in Hollywood.
Yeah, we need J. Jonah Jameson again. I wonder if we can get J.K. Simmons back. And he really delivers, but it still feels like a different portrayal. Like it doesn't feel exactly the same.
He's not doing like a propaganda rag. He's doing, or a I'm sorry, yeah. He's not newsstand fodder. He's a like a right wing podcaster basically, or like yeah.
He's like an Alex Jones type guy, and it's kind of brilliant.
Tabloids,
I think
that's the word.
Good way to do it. But he's awesome. I was so excited when he showed up in Far From Home, and yeah, they really do start off exactly like you could splice together these two movies.
Yeah, and it would just be one big thing. Basically.
Yeah, yeah, it really goes right into the other, like scenes directly from that post-credit scene in Far From Home are what start us off on this ride, which is kind of cool.
And it basically where it goes is everyone knows that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. They also know that he had accomplices. They know that some people know by association know who Peter Parker is. Aunt May, or know who Spider-Man is. Aunt May, MJ and Ned, etc. And then I really adored that it was, it wasn't that it was bothering him that people knew him. That the reason that he went to Doctor Strange to fix everything, it's the reason he wanted to reverse it is because it was messing up his friends' lives, and that's a really Spider-Man kind of thing, which I really appreciated. It could just be, oh shit, my secret's out, what do I do? Or like they could have made it dangerous for him, maybe someone attacks Aunt May or something in the street, but it didn't become that necessarily. It was just that, it was just a very, I'm Peter and I need to help my friends.
It really had nothing to do with him. It was
really, absolutely.
And it feels a little different with like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. It was like, I don't want people to know who I am because it'll put my loved ones in danger, which is also very like admirable, like Spider-Man type vibe. But I feel like this had an added twist where everyone also thought he was a murderer. So it was really like messing up his
Mysterio was right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the second I don't know what you would call it, villain apologists in the MCU. We got Thanos was right written on a urinal.
Right. Spoiler alert, Thanos was not right.
Yeah. But I like seeing stuff like that. I like, and the Spider-Man movies, this trilogy have been the best with showing like how real people on the ground feel about all of this like crazy shit that happens.
And
and
we
it's
don't often
kind of fun to see.
have a lot of time for that in some other superhero movies. There's a lot going on in them, so you don't really get to see how real people feel about this stuff a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
the things like the MCU just being so vast at this point, it allows us to have that kind of time.
Yeah, that's what I like most about these Spider-Man movies. I think, like, even just that one scene that he gets with the teachers and the
Hannibal
principal.
Buress.
Hannibal Buress cracks me up, and I didn't expect to see him in this. And
Yeah,
just seeing everybody's take on Spider-Man being a criminal is just so, it was funny to see. But yeah, I love that, and I love that I mean, there's not a lot of space for the teachers and like
yeah, they're only in that
Betty.
one moment, but
yeah, the fact that they did have like a little time for them, I was like, that's good, because they don't completely ditch these characters that have been pretty solid and funny throughout this trilogy, so they still get like a little moment. But uh I can't imagine them showing up anywhere else in this movie.
So then we move on to Peter, Ned, Aunt May. They all get arrested, and they have to answer to damage control, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like Ned just puts his foot in his mouth. He's like, "So what you're saying is you're Spider-Man's #1 accomplice."
That's one of my one of my favorite scenes there, where he is like clearly smooching up to Ned and making him feel all comfortable, and he just right away just makes himself look guilty as hell.
Yes.
Ned cracks me up. I think he's a funny character.
I do too. Do you read comics? He's a lot like Genki in Ultimate Spider-Man. It's like Miles Morales' friend there.
My fiance was just playing the Miles Morales video game, so I saw some of that.
Yeah. Also, have they confirmed that it's Ned Leeds? Have they done that? Like this? Have they ever said his last name? Because like Ned Leeds is the Hobgoblin.
Yeah, they kind of nod to that a little bit.
I promise I'm not going to become a villain and try to kill you.
Yeah,
but
which I don't know how they would do that, but I guess anything is possible. But he's
if they do, I had a theory that maybe it could be in this movie, and it's another like a multiverse Ned, like a Ned variant becomes the Hobgoblin, which would be cool. Maybe that'll happen in the future. I don't know, but
yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with the multiverse stuff, because I feel like at some point it has to end. Like, if you just keep the multiverse open as an option all the time, it's just going to lead to some problems and get too
ultimately
carried away.
It could get really confusing, but Kang is out there. We got, and it's going to take some time to deal with Kang for sure. So
yeah, I feel like give us this whole phase can be like the multiversal phase, and then some big event movie has to happen where they close it off and it's like, okay, no more multiverse. But then from there, I don't know where you go, because I don't know how you I didn't know how you were going to top Avengers Endgame, but then they called up all of these Spider-Man actors and
every actor that's been in Spider-Man ever.
Yeah, now I don't know how they're going to top this, but I'm sure they'll give us some crazy stuff.
We got the first big reveal of the multiverse coming together. Shortly after that, they have 100% confirmed that that Matt Murdock is in the MCU, and he's played by Charlie Cox. And well, for folks who don't know, I may have talked about it last week on the show, but I recently hurt my ankle at work. And we were sitting there, and then Charlie Cox comes into their kitchen. He's like, "You need a good lawyer. I'm a good lawyer." Anyway, yeah. So Charlie Cox was on the screen, and I got really excited, and I like danced in my seat and stomped my foot, and it hurt really bad. And I was like, "Brandon, you're a dumbass." It was really exciting.
I did something similar to that when I went and saw Split in the theater when it had first come out, and you see that
Bruce Willis is in there.
Shot of and I slammed my hand on the armrest because I got all excited, and I was like, "Oh, that actually hurt a little bit. I should chill out."
Good times.
but yeah, that was cool to see him. I thought we might get more Daredevil. I didn't think he would suit up or anything, but I thought maybe we get like a courtroom scene with Matt Murdock or something. Thought that would have been
And that
cool.
was, all this stuff is kind of resolved right then and there. He's like, I'll take care of it. And then you don't see him again, and they don't really talk about it again.
Yeah, that felt like I don't have a problem with it because uh there's so much else to worry about later on, but I really thought like, oh, we're gonna have to deal with the fact that he's a murderer to everybody, but then not really so much. Like he really does say like, oh, you guys are good, but happy maybe not so good, but also the court of public opinion, and then that was kind of it. But I'm sure there's more Matt Murdock on the way. Maybe he'll show up in like She-Hulk or something.
Yeah, it's almost certainly got to be She-Hulk.
That would be cool.
Yeah. The moving on. Yeah, so Peter decides that he knows someone who can do well. He realizes he knows someone who can do magic, and he decides to go talk to Doctor Strange. And he says, "I need you to make everyone forget I was Spider-Man." And Doctor Strange says, "This is a terrible idea, but I'll do it." And then so they're doing the spell, and then Peter keeps trying to fuck with the spell, and he says, "Wait, don't." Aunt May still needs to know, and also MJ, and also Ned. Wait, just anyone who already knew. Yeah, right. That works, right? So then Doctor Strange botches the spell, and it seems like everything's fine. But then Peter Parker or Spider-Man runs out to catch the college administration's lady before she gets on the plane, and he catches her in her car, and there's an explosion on the bridge where they're at, and Dr. Octopus appears.
And that was great. I feel like that's the scene that we saw the most from before the movie came out.
Probably,
like that
yeah.
was
And
the
there
big
was a lot more of it in the movie than in the trailer, though. Which that I was definitely afraid that the trailer kind of had everything, but it was like a really tight action scene, and it's like really interesting use of the arms, like probably more so than in the Sam Raimi movie.
Yeah, he was fun, and I'm glad that he got a big sequence like that because
Yeah.
Alfred Molina is great, and I thought that was
and he's always been my favorite. Like, but certainly in the old Sam Raimi movie, but also like from the cartoons, like he was my favorite villain since I was a kid. So it's always good to see him back and to have like the best version of him back on the screen.
Yeah, he was great, and then it was cool to see the Iron Spider suit against the Doctor Octopus tentacles.
Yeah, it kind of takes him over.
Yeah, that was cool, and the fact that they both have 4 legs that they can kind of battle it out with. But yeah, I thought that was a great sequence. I like the college admissions lady yelling at Dr. Octopus when she gets out of the car and tells him that was not okay. that was pretty good. He later on, I think it might be right after that, once they have Dr. Octopus locked away in the basement. I don't remember what he shouts, but he yells at the kids, right. And it really like startled me. I was like, oh my gosh, he is going all out this role again. But yeah, I thought he was a lot of fun, and I like that he's you get to see villainous side, but he's also redeemed like he is in Spider-Man 2.
Absolutely. And then where we get a very brief glimpse of the Green Goblin. He drops a pumpkin bomb and appears.
What a
and then
tease that was. I was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, and then all right, we're gonna fight. He's gonna fight both of them. It's gonna be awesome. And then we get teleported to Doctor Strange's basement, where he's already captured the lizard, and he's like, "All right, Pete, we fucked up. All these other people from other universes are coming through because they know that they know Peter Parker is Spider-Man."
The lizard looked pretty good too, which I know it's kind of debatable for some people if he looked good in Amazing Spider-Man, but I feel like he looked like how he looked in the original Amazing Spider-Man movie, but he looked better, but also looked like he fit into the MCU. Like right. All of these characters, it couldn't have been easy because like the style of these other Spider-Man movies are so different than
Absolutely.
the MCU, and they kind of fit them in perfectly.
Especially with like, well, Electro they changed, to be fair. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah,
He doesn't look like he did in that other movie, probably for the better.
yeah, definitely.
But no, yeah, and you know what? Going into this, when it started coming out that the lizard's probably in it, and then they showed the lizard for a second in that one trailer. Excuse me. I was kind of hoping that they had done Dylan Baker from the
Yeah,
Raimi movies.
that would have been cool.
It would,
That's
yeah, no, and we wouldn't have at least from the movie point of view, we wouldn't have like a benchmark for that. But he played Kurt Connors in the Raimi movies with Tobey Maguire, and he was really excited that they would eventually get to the lizard and he would be able to put on the scales.
yeah, that's kind of the Hall of Fame of like superhero villains that never happened.
Yeah,
Like Dylan Baker in Spider-Man, and like Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent in the Tim
and that's
Burton
happening in the
Batmans.
comics right now.
Yeah, I saw that, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah,
But
the art's pretty awesome too. Like it's Billy
yeah,
D, but like the Two-Face side has got this crazy hair. It's great.
yeah, that would have been awesome to see, like for real, like back in the day. But yeah, him and Dylan Baker both are like what could have been. But that would have been cool. But I do like who's the actor that plays the lizard in?
Risa Fons.
Okay, yeah, he's
Um,
good. I mean, they got him for all of like one day. I feel like
it
in this
was
movie.
it's a voice role. Like there's like two shots of him at the end of the movie when he's cured, but those are reused.
That's what
It's
I
like
heard.
old footage.
Was it old footage of Thomas Hayden Church as well, or did they get him in there?
Also avoid, but it was Thomas Hayden Church. I don't think was reused footage. Like the two shots of Risa Fons are just legit straight out of Amazing Spider-Man. But I think the Hayden Church was like outtakes. So
I wonder
footage
if
that they filmed 15 years ago, but it wasn't in the movie at the time.
that's kind of incredible. I mean, I know some people think that that's weird or whatever, that it's cheap, but I think that's it's kind of impressive that it looks as good as it does.
They didn't really cheap out, like they had to have both of those guys in the voice booth for 3 days. Like it's not like
Yeah.
I've said earlier the lizard kind of got the shaft here, but I wouldn't. He still has quite a few lines, like he's not.
Yeah.
He's in the movie for a bit, so it's there. It's
And
not.
I think he's funny too. I like the whole. Yeah, he wants to turn everyone into a lizard. They really kind of take the piss out of the villains from the Amazing Spider-Man movies. All the jokes
Dad's
about
like,
him.
Wait, the dinosaur can talk. Like that's probably that probably got the loudest laugh from me. Probably not the best joke in the movie, but I appreciated it.
Yeah, I like that, and I like his little banter with Electro. He's like, "I can give you a makeover." He goes, "Oh, what? Turn me into a lizard?"
An electric lizard.
Yeah, they keep joking about the Amazing Spider-Man villains throughout. Like that's a good ongoing joke. And then I really like the anytime they bring up that Jamie Foxx was turned evil by falling into a vat of electric eels.
You got to watch where you fall.
That was pretty good. Like it's just crazy that they were able to take a character that didn't really work for people in another movie and
you could
make him work here.
Of Amazing Spider-Man 2. You could completely remove Max Dillon and Electro, and it wouldn't change the movie.
Yeah,
like you could, you would lose the coolest action scene. Like the thing that happens in Times Square is actually pretty. That's probably the only good part of that big mess. But it wouldn't change the plot of the movie, which really focuses on Peter and Harry and Gwen for the most part.
Yeah, Harry Osborn wanting Peter's blood.
I didn't say it was good, but
no, for sure.
No, yeah. What a mess.
It's such a bummer. I'm so glad Andrew Garfield got to come back and kind of get some redemption. Parker. He's awesome, and I think he kind of stole the show.
Bad movies, but he's a good Peter Parker.
That first one I think is all right, but then I don't know. They just turned it to such a mess, and I don't think you needed the whole like
my dad's
stuff about his parents.
Yeah.
Like I've never once cared about the mystery around Peter Parker's parents. Like it doesn't matter, and it's such a weird thing for them to focus on.
It's true.
But I'm getting ahead of ourselves again. But Andrew Garfield's so good.
The movie's great. We move on. We discover that that Doctor Strange captured the lizard, and he gives Peter this like device that's like magic mixed with technology.
Yeah, he takes his web shooter, right, and does like a weird
and then makes
thing with it.
Makes it a thing that'll teleport the villains into the basement here, into the holding cells.
I got it right here, actually.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah.
And you actually don't really see this exact suit. I mean, you see this suit, but you don't really see this little device that much. I think he takes it away pretty quickly, and then it's mostly the box that they carry around. But that was pretty awesome. Also, I don't remember on this one there's like a little looks like a Doctor Strange portal, but kind of with spider webs in it on his chest. And I don't recall seeing that in the movie, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But he does have a little like an iPhone strapped to the black suit that he
so I guess so that Ned and MJ can watch. I was like, didn't the suit have a camera like in the eyes or something? But so Doctor Strange sends him out to investigate like an electrical disturbance or something.
You're right.
Where he encounters Electro and Sandman, and Sandman recognizes Spider-Man, because they ended Spider-Man 3 on okay terms. So Peter's like, all right, I need you to help me catch the electrical guy. And then first thing they do is surround him, and then Peter captures a tree.
That's a great bit too. Whenever is this a tree? Is this a doctor who turned himself into a tree?
It's just a tree. It's just a tree, Ned. And that's so Electro and the Sandman end up stuck in the basement as well. And then we go over to Norman, who seemingly has like suppressed the evil side of him, and he smashes the helmet, the helmet from the Sam Raimi movies,
which is so cool. Anytime you see a smashed up mask, like an iconic mask, like they did it in like the Dark Knight Rises, you get the smashed Batman
and they
mask.
showed that in the trailers. Like, oh shit! Like Bane broke the cowl.
Or in Force Awakens, you get like the messed up looking Darth Vader helmet, and now we get cool Green Goblin half smashed mask, like it that half smashed mask. Say that 3 times fast, but
pass.
They it just looked cool as hell. That's a cool shot with his mask just scattered across the pavement.
And we are led to believe that Norman's better faculties have taken over, and he he's wandering around this new world. He doesn't have any place to go, so he finds Feast and he finds Aunt May.
He's just a nice old man.
Yeah, he's just a nice homeless guy who's doesn't have anywhere to go. So then Peter is like, "Oh no, we got to capture this guy." And Aunt May says, "No, this man needs help. You need to help him."
And we get to hear him mention James Franco.
Yes, he talks about Harry.
Kind of unexpected. Yeah, he talks about Harry. He talks about Oscorp. And you really kind of buy it that he's not evil right now.
What? Really didn't see so what do you think? Was he evil? Or like was that the Goblin like just acting like not nice lonely Norman, or was it actually Norman?
I don't know. I think the Goblin uses that to his advantage, but I mean it definitely seemed like the whole like Jekyll and Hyde situation going on.
Right.
And but like even more so than we get in the Raimi movies, I feel like we get
more
some
pronounced,
of that.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, but this was kind of established it in a more concrete way where you could tell like when he's good and when he's going nuts. But Willem Dafoe is just so good. Like either way he's playing it, like
so good.
You buy him as like
he has crazy face just like all the time. But like there there are
It's crazy.
there
Yeah.
are looks he makes in this movie that wouldn't work anywhere else or from any other actor. But
I
it's
I can't believe he's only 66 years old. This man has more wrinkles than anybody ever.
he's just
But like
it's just kind of looked
in
old for a while. Yeah.
such a cool way. Like he's such an interesting looking guy and it works when he plays crazy people like in this or The Lighthouse or whatever.
Awesome movie,
But
The Lighthouse.
he's really good at playing like more reserved characters too. Like he's really good in the Florida Project where he's playing like
Yeah.
a more likable, like down to earth dude. But he can really do it all. And
He was just in. I just saw Nightmare Alley, and he's like
I need to see that.
the proprietor of like the freak show, and he's not. He's not a nice person, but he's not on like the crazy side in that movie.
Yeah, no eyes bulging and
I'm not
yelling.
gonna say he's a terrible human being, but he's not like nuts like he is in Spider-Man.
He really went all out, and they did what a lot of people said they should have done in the Raimi movies, and they just showed more of his face. Like smashing the helmet was probably the best choice they could have made, because seeing Willem Dafoe in all of his insane glory is
and they made him look like
good.
the comic with the scarf.
Yeah.
Right. And like I like the flight goggles, which is that's been like an Ultimate Comics thing sometimes.
Yeah. You did you ever see that test footage from the like original Spider-Man where they were gonna have him do like prosthetics and like really make him like a goblin?
Yes, and that would have been a bad choice too.
I think that looked awesome, which I think it would have worked in that movie. But now, in retrospect, I'm so glad they didn't do it, because this is so much. Yeah, and it's so cool to. He's the only person who like doesn't need any prosthetics or makeup or anything to completely turn into the Green Goblin.
Yes,
like he changes like on a dime, and you believe it immediately. You're like, oh shit, like something just happened. Like this guy is not who he was 2 seconds ago.
So where do we go from there? Because there's some time between.
They go back to the basement, right?
Right, and then Peter said, "Is this where Peter decides that he's got to?" No, this is where the thing with Doctor Strange happens.
Yeah, Doctor Strange wants to press the button on the box, send everybody back, and Peter's like, "Wait a second, these guys are all gonna die. You didn't tell me that."
Yeah. So he gets in a fight with Doctor Strange, and then Doctor Strange tries to trap him in the mirror dimension so that he can just fix the problem. And then he uses the power of geometry, and he
beats Doctor Strange in a fight.
Yeah.
that was pretty great. Him coming out and talking to Ned and going, "Oh my gosh, I just fought Doctor Strange and I won." That was wild. And the Doctor Strange stuff is always like so batshit crazy.
Yes, like it's visually nuts. I mean, and this movie is, there's so much stuff. Like this movie is nuts.
And
it's
the fact that there's this huge Doctor Strange like mirror dimension fight, and that's not even like in my top 3 things in this movie. Like that's pretty nuts.
Like the thing with the train. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that looks cool. But from there, that's when they go to Happy's apartment, right?
Right, just bringing 6 supervillains over to Happy's place,
which is also a great bit. I love seeing them walk by on his doorbell camera, and he's like, "Is there a guy in there made of mud?" Jon Favreau is great in these movies, and I'm glad they kept him alive. I was really worried this was the final performance from him, but it seems like he likes doing it. Like he's down to.
I mean, he's all in on Marvel and Star Wars right now. And if you remember, he played Foggy Nelson in the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. Like he's been in the Marvel game for a long time.
Yeah, which is wild.
Yeah, but, like that was like before he directed Iron Man, obviously, but like before.
Yeah, I hope they keep him alive though. He's a fun one to have around, and I think he's really funny. First of all, but then
and I think his relationship with Tony
Yeah,
really important to these movies. So like
yeah,
it's good to have Happy drop in every once in a while because it's a good reminder.
yeah. And he's hilarious all the time, but then he's kind of been responsible for two of the more poignant moments
Yeah.
in recent Marvel movies, like that scene at the end of Endgame with Tony Stark's daughter. That's like a really good emotional like performance from him. And then you get another one here at the end of No Way Home in the cemetery. And John Favreau can act. I like him.
He can. It's true.
I hope they keep him around because I mean we don't get Stan Lee cameos anymore, but this is at least somebody who's been there since the beginning of the MCU, and he can kind of come in and have some fun moments every now and then.
And there's a okay before we get there. So yeah, Peter discovers in Happy's apartment that Happy has a fabricator, which is like Stark tech that lets him build stuff.
And he has the little
he's got an arc reactor.
He has the little thing, the little claw dude.
Yeah, from the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah,
If you,
I don't
if you
remember what
douse
they
me
call
again,
those, but
and
that
I'm
was
not on fire.
that was cute. We hadn't seen that in forever, and
probably Iron Man 3. It's been a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was I kind of perked up when he showed up. I was like, "Oh wow!"
I've just been hanging at Happy's place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're trying to work on all these cures. You know, and some of them don't want to be cured, and that starts to come out. But you know, we get another moment where Norman just seems kind of a normal guy. Like, you know, he's a scientist and he tries to help Peter make all the shit. And then he decides to go crazy.
We didn't mention in the when they're back in the basement, we get the I'm somewhat of a scientist myself.
Yes.
Which has become like a meme at this point.
Absolutely.
But it's
and if it that's why he said it, you know, if it wasn't such a meme, he probably would have left it out.
I'm kind of glad they had it in there. Like, I know it's a little on the nose, but it's it's funny. I mean, you want to hear the greatest hits a little bit.
So the power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
Yeah, they might have overdone that one a little bit. But it was
Alfred Molina is one of those guys that can read the phone book, and I'm like all in on it.
Did you ever see that show Feud about shit, now I can't remember, Betty Davis and Joan Crawford?
No.
It's like one of those Ryan Murphy shows on FX, and it's all about like old Hollywood, and Alfred Molina plays, I want to say, I don't know, he plays like a movie producer. I don't remember which one, but he's like awesome in that.
Nice.
Like, he's anything he shows up in, I feel like he instantly elevates it.
He had a really good, like a pretty small part, but a really good one in that new movie, Pretty Young or
Promising Young Woman. Yeah, that was the other one I was going to mention. I think he shows up in literally 2 scenes, maybe, but he's so
he's so
good. He just brings
it. Yes. So
I buy whatever he's selling. Like, he's always delivering.
So Peter invents some new things that are going to, in theory, help cure the villains. And he makes Dr. Octopus a new inhibitor chip, and he attaches it, and then Dr. Octopus becomes becomes Otto again. Basically, he turns into a normal guy, and then he gives the thing to Electro that's like absorbing the electricity. And this is when Norman decides that he doesn't want to be cured, and the Goblin comes back out again.
Yeah, we get that whole Spidey sense sequence, which is really cool, where everything just kind of fades to the background, and Peter's like, something's not right.
And
sure enough,
this guy. And this is an intense fight. Like, they're like going through the floor and stuff. It's like,
yeah, and a lot of that was practical too. I saw some behind the scenes footage where they really like sent them through the floor.
And it's like, and it's Willem Dafoe doing a lot of it.
Yeah, because he said that that's what he said when they came to him with this. They were like, hey, do you want to come back? And he's like, well, I want to do as many of the stunts as I can because that's what makes it fun for me.
Right.
It's like, man, this man is 66 years old and
And
he's
he is all
out
in on this
here
Spider-Man movie. Yeah,
he's out here beating the shit out of Tom Holland.
we don't we don't deserve Willem Dafoe or Alfred Molina, but
Yeah.
but they are
This
here. They, he
this
didn't
scene is
have to do this
also
for us, but he did it.
yeah. The scene is also one of my favorite lines in the whole movie. The way uh Willem Dafoe says, "Norman's on sabbatical, honey." He's so just like chewing the scenery and having a blast. Like he's awesome.
It's
But yeah, that whole fight scene is crazy. And just smashing through every floor of this apartment building. And
that,
him just laughing every time Tom Holland punches him.
yes,
Like just the crazy in his eyes.
it's just like and like I said before, like if it was another actor, it probably wouldn't work as well. But Willem Dafoe sells it.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy that he's gone from being like one of the best superhero villains ever to now also being the best superhero villain in the MCU. Like it's crazy. Like 30, like almost 30 years apart, and he's still like
it's been 19 years since Spider-Man since the
wow.
first
So
Spider-Man.
not even 20 years. Wow.
But that's a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time. It's crazy that he can pick it up again just like that. I'm trying to think I know where we go from there. It's a sad moment with Aunt May.
Oh, and then so they fight down to the lobby, and then Aunt May's trying to get away with the cures, and Peter's trying to just get her to run away, but she tries to cure Norman like secretly, and he hits her with the glider.
Yeah.
And then and it seems like it's like, oh shit, Aunt May's hurt. What are we gonna do? But then she gets up, and we're just like, and they're talking for a minute, and it's like, and then my wife says, like, just kind of whispers, Aunt May's not okay. It's just like, no shit, like they're gonna twist the knife right here. And
Yeah, this they really fake you out because she stands up and you think like,
yeah, like,
oh, all is
maybe
good.
she's not hurt so bad. And it's like, no, she's messed up, and then she's bleeding out, and she falls, and then like Happy shows up, and the SWAT team or whatever is there to arrest Spider-Man, and then Happy's getting arrested on the hood of the car, and it's
Yeah,
like,
it's real.
and I'm just this moment was obviously, and Aunt May dying sucks, and that is that hurts a lot, but it was also like in this moment in the theater, I was leaning forward on the edge of my seat, like I was with Happy. It's like you got to go, Pete. You have to get
yeah.
you're like, no, like it's I know it hurts, but you got to get out of here, because if you get arrested, it's all over. Like
Tom Holland's really good at scenes like this because this was giving me very much like the vibe of I don't want to go, Mr. Stark.
Yeah.
Like anytime he is in a scene like this, and I actually saw an interview with him where he said to get himself to cry, he'll just like repeat the same phrase over and over. And he kind of does that in the Mr. Stark scene and here, where he's like, he just keeps saying the same thing and it breaks your heart a little more every time he says it. And you're like, oh man, he's pretty good. The only way this could have hit a little harder would be if Aunt May was given anything to do in these other movies. Like, I feel like
unfortunately, you're right. This is like, I don't know, like they had cute moments. Like he comes home, he's like, May, I need help, and she goes, they buy a suit, and she teaches him how to dance, and like for the dance in Homecoming. But you're like, yeah,
like she's great. Like it's not her fault. All they want to do with her is be like, oh my gosh, Peter's aunt. Oh god. Like
yeah,
I get it. Like it's funny when they do it, but it's like it's sad that her like last moment is the first time she's really given him like a good like pep talk, or like had a real like serious moment. And you could tell she feels the same way about it, Marissa Tomei, because there was some interview with her where I can't remember what someone said, but they were like, oh yeah, you're great. And she's like, I mean, she kind of had this Sally Field vibe to it, where she said like, there's nothing to it. Like I play the aunt. Like
right. I'm the superhero's aunt.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Yeah.
that's they gave her some good stuff in this movie.
Yeah,
She's
she
in
gets to
she's
say the big line, the big with great
yeah,
power comes great responsibility. And everybody clapped in my theater for
me
that.
too.
Yeah.
But it's Peter disappears. Ned, who now has Ned and MJ go to his grandma's house. And he
Yeah.
has Doctor
This
Strange's sling ring, and they're freaking out trying to find Peter. And as MJ says something like, "Can you make the ring work? Do you know how to? Can you find Peter?" And Ned says, "Yeah,
th-
maybe." And then
this was
that,
so awesome. This
yeah,
is because after that Aunt May scene, you're like, oh, geez, where do you go from here? Because like we're kind of having a light, fun time up until this point, and then Aunt May dies, and you're like, oh, bummer. I don't
this
know.
is
I don't know where we go from
this has a
here. And
different
it's
vibe
like,
than I was feeling before.
yeah. And then it's like, oh, I know where we go from here. We bring in the other Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I mean, this was certainly a big cheer. He creates the portal, and then Spider-Man turns around. He's like in like an alley or something. He comes through. It's like, well, what's going on? Hey, Peter. And then I forget what Andrew Garfield says, but it's like, basically, you know me, but I don't know you. And he takes his mask off, and that got a big cheer. It's like,
Yeah.
it's the Garf.
Yeah, I got there were a bunch of cheers for when he first like hopped out of the portal, but then there was even more cheers when he took the mask off because I think a lot of people are like how my fiance is, where they're like, I can't tell the Spider-Man suits apart. Like they all look the
They're
same to
all
me.
red and blue. That's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I get that. Like I can tell them all apart, but also I don't think I could articulate like the differences between them.
I don't know. Toby's has like 3D webbing, and then like
Yeah,
Andrew Garfield's the eye lenses are huge. They're way
yeah,
bigger than on the other two.
right.
And he's also like he's taller and like lankier than the other guys.
Yeah,
But like, I mean, that's about it, really.
yeah. This was man, it was awesome to get like a little moment with Andrew Garfield before Toby shows up too. Like that whole banter between them where they're trying to get him to prove that he's
It's just
Spider-Man.
like
She
stick to the ceiling.
she makes him go wipe a cobweb off of the ceiling.
And then he's like,
That
I have the tingle thing, but it doesn't work on bread.
that whole bit was great. And then obviously Toby shows up and that's insane. Like this happened in a way that I never would
The
have
phone just came up.
expected. This happened in a way I never would have expected because you expect it to happen in a big epic fashion and instead it happens like in the kitchen and
Yeah,
it's
they're just
kind of perfect.
they're just in his grandma's house.
I'm kind of glad it happens that way.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. And man, the applause for Toby was great and him stepping out. That neither one of them missed a beat. Like they feel just this could be said for the villains too. Like they all feel like the way they felt in their respective movies.
They do, but
now they're just
those
here.
despite those movies like feeling super different than the MCU, like they're definitely those old characters, but they feel like they belong in this movie. I mean, and that could have been handled poorly too. It's just like, okay, so we got Toby, but Toby doesn't seem right in the MCU. But
yeah, and you also it could have gone the other way where they come in and you're like, well, he doesn't seem like he used to. Like it seems off. But both of them felt like just plucked from their universes and like exactly how you would expect them, like didn't miss a beat. And it was really cool to see Toby because he I feel like I haven't even seen him in anything in so long. Like
I looked at it, he hasn't done a movie since 2017, and he hasn't been in that much stuff like lately.
yeah, and wasn't the 2017 one like Boss Baby or something?
Maybe I forget.
So he hasn't even been on camera in like years and years. So like, what a big get for them to have him show up as his most iconic role, like the guy who kind of originated it. But man, and it was cool that he wasn't in the suit yet because that left room for another another big reveal later.
Are you gonna dress up? Or are you gonna come fight dressed like a cool youth pastor?
That was the banter. Just like no disrespect to Tom Holland, but the banter between Andrew Garfield and Toby was great. Like I feel like we got a lot of moments with just the two of them,
Right.
and they were just had like a funny energy together. Like Andrew's bringing something totally different than he is, even
Absolutely.
though
Yeah.
they
And
played the same character.
they're all Peter Parker, but they're their own thing, and their worlds are different, and it's
And all of them kind of clowning him about his the joke that everybody was making before the movie even came out. And we got confirmation that they were in it. Everyone was talking about, oh, they got to do a joke about how his webs come out of his wrists,
yeah,
and they all
bodily
have web
fluid.
shooters. That was
Uh,
that was great. And they don't make Toby Peter too like quippy, like
right.
because he never really was that quippy, but like when they're all kind of asking him about the webs coming out of him, he could tell he's like uncomfortable by it. He's not like
It's like I'd rather not to talk about that.
it feels very him, like very awkward. Yeah, they it's just awesome. But I and it's a good little palate cleanser before like we get them on the roof with Tom Holland.
Right.
Like
Because
between
Tom's losing it, and then they talk about Uncle Ben, and they he didn't save Gwen and stuff. And it's just like
yeah,
it gets kind of heavy there for a little bit.
yeah, but it's good that in between you get that whole fun kitchen scene. But that the scene on the roof is awesome where they come kind of hopping down to see him, and that yeah, you really get everything you want. Like the three of them just kind of talking about tragic shit is just as good as like the goofy stuff. Because I don't know, you want to see them do some dramatic stuff, and and we really get more characterization for Andrew Garfield Spider-Man than we did in some of his solo movies, where the whole speech where he talks about Gwen and how he stopped pulling his punches, like that's what makes me think like we got to see more of him, right? Like it seems like there's more to explore with him. With Toby, it was more like, yeah, me and MJ made it work and everything's pretty good. And that's kind of what you want from him though, because you're like, wow, that's all he ever wanted.
Like
so that's good.
Like in Spider-Man 3, he was such a dick to Mary Jane. This is like,
yeah. So it's kind of he got his happily ever after in a way. It sounds like. And then Andrew, it's a little more nuanced and a little more complicated, which is like I could see why people want to see more. I never thought I'd see the day where people were like begging for Amazing Spider-Man 3, but I could see why. Like I kind of hope it happens.
Now we're gonna have the Sony Spider-Man multiverse that's just adjacent to the MCU, and they cross over like once every 9 movies or something stupid.
Yeah, well, I heard Sony is now saying they want to do an Electro movie with Jamie Foxx. I'm like,
I mean, heck, Jamie Foxx is great in this.
He was great, but I don't see what you do there. I don't see how that's a whole movie. I wouldn't mind seeing more of him, but maybe in the context of like something else. I don't need like a whole.
No, I agree.
But I really hope they bring Andrew Garfield in for some stuff. That whole once they show up, like everything is kind of perfect from then on. Like every little moment they get together, you get to see them do some science shit and like swirl test tubes around, and that's pretty good.
They go back. Peter meets the other Peters, and then they discuss a plan. So then Peter is still on the side of I want to cure these guys. So they break into the chemistry lab to try to remake the cures. Some because a couple of them got messed up during the fight. And we get a lot of really good stuff with the other Peters. We were just talking about that a minute ago, but that's what like I am so happy that we get so much with these other characters.
Yeah, because they just as easily could have come through some Doctor Strange portals at the very end and thrown a few punches and said like, "See you later. Thanks. Glad we could help."
It could have been even like what they do with the Lizard, where he's in the costume until the very last shot, and then
Yeah.
he takes off his mask and he's like, "Peace out." So it's
Yeah. The fact that we got as much as we did is like crazy. And the fact that they didn't, I mean, there were some leaks, but not anything like huge.
right.
Like the fact that they kept that as secret as they did is kind of incredible. And it
Right,
made the
and
movie
they
that much
filmed
more
this
exciting.
in like in 2020. It's been a while, right? So they've been sitting on this stuff for a bit, and it's not like that. There's so much Toby, for example, that they couldn't have just like, oh, people really want to see Toby. Let's get Toby for 3 days, and they didn't film it the month before the movie came out. This was all it was part of the plan from the jump.
Yeah, I know that was I feel like that was a theory that like, oh, now that everyone's saying they want this, they're gonna go back and like do reshoots. And it's like, no, this definitely had to have always been a part of it because it's so important to Tom Holland's arc. Uh and it's wild that these movies were really Spider-Man's origins all along, and we never
Yeah, that is
realized
crazy at this point. We've had three
that
three movies that are just the Spider-Man origin story.
it's kind of a big reveal. And it's wild
Yeah.
because we never get Uncle Ben, which I guess is why we get Aunt May instead. And we never see him get bit by the spider. But like, this is kind of perfect the way it ended up because you really get to know him. And now it feels like after he talks to these guys, he has kind of become the Spider-Man that I think a lot of people were always hoping for, even though I've liked him in all of these other
Me too.
movies.
And
But he's kind of become more seasoned and more I don't know. He's what he's growing up. I mean, these were all coming of age stories, and now he's come of age.
we get the big final conflict where they
Crazy.
the three Peters, first of all, they're not great at working as a team, because Toby and Garfield are very, they haven't been Avengers, so they don't really know what it's like to
that that was a cool distinction too
you were
that
an
I never
Avenger.
would have
What does that
thought
mean?
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were in a band. Is that a band?
Were you in a band?
that that's a really cool distinction because I never even thought about uh the fact that they're very much loners.
Yeah,
And
I mean, and there were like Peter fought with Harry for a few minutes right before Harry died, that kind of thing. But
yeah,
there.
I saw a meme going around where they're talking about how, oh, we've never fought as a team, and then it was James Franco, Harry Osborn saying, "Am I a joke to you?"
Am I a joke to you? Anyway, so they eventually team up and they come up with a plan and they cure everyone and then the Doctor Strange shows up with the box gets the box from Ned. Or
That scene.
no, one more thing. The Doctor Octopus shows up, reveals that he is cured, and he helps him save Electro.
That was
And
great.
and I'll bring it up because I really like the moment with Otto and Toby Maguire. He's
Yeah,
like, "You've grown up." Yeah.
Peter, my boy, trying to do better. That was pretty great. It's so quick, but it's awesome.
It is.
Just seeing those guys together again is great. And then we got to talk about the one shot of I need this shit as like a poster hanging up in my room or something. The three Spider-Men
They're
all
like
suited up,
swinging
where
around.
they all, well, they do like a weird like spin thing too, like up in
Yeah.
the air. Like one of them like webs the other, and they kind of, once they all start working together, and then when they all kind of land, like Toby, Andrew, Tom, that shit is like chef's kiss. Like
Yes.
that's when everybody was, woo! That's incredible.
The three
and,
Spider-Men.
and the suits look exactly like how you remember them too. Like it's they look awesome.
Yeah. Norman shows up. He gets the box for a second, and then they get the box back. Turns out he left a bomb in the box, and it blows up the box, which unleashes the spell. One small thing that annoyed me as a fan of Alfred Molina's Otto is the arms are supposed to be like generally indestructible, You know, they can take the heat of the sun or whatever. And Norman's just like, no, I'm going to cut it, and he just cuts it off like it's no big deal. Well, what is that?
Yeah,
That don't work. Anyway,
that's true.
Yeah, I'm just poking fun, but yeah. So the Green Goblin shows up and he blows up the spell, and then we see all the other like ghosts of the other villains from the the rhinos in there, and I saw Craven and Black Cat.
Yeah, I've seen it twice now, and I was trying to pull out more silhouettes out of there. That's going to be one that I'm going to be looking at on the Blu-ray.
Me too.
And pausing everything. I definitely saw Rhino. I think I caught Craven the second time. And I want to say there was somebody else in there too that I noticed. And now I can't remember.
There was like one guy with a staff that I'm assuming was Craven.
Yeah. And there was definitely someone else I noticed too. I thought one time I saw like a straight up like actual scorpion. I don't know if that's correct, but yeah, that's definitely one that I think is full of Easter eggs that people probably haven't found yet. Once we get the 4K footage, it's
excellent.
Gotta go over that with a fine-tooth comb.
So the big solution, well, Harry tries to fight with Norman with Green Goblin while Doctor Strange tries to contain the spell. And then he's about to squash or stab Norman with the glider, and Toby gets in his way.
That was awesome.
Yes, and then Norman stabs Toby.
That was scary.
It's like I thought, are they going to kill Tobey Maguire right now?
Thank God they didn't, because there's nothing to gain from that. Like I said, like he already had his like happily ever after in his own universe, or it sounded like it. And so, like, what do you get out of killing him other than just being sad for no reason? The fact that they played it off with that was
there was a really like a funny joke though, where he's lying on the ground. He's like, am I dead, or is that actually happening? And they looks at the sky.
And then him and Andrew standing there, and he goes, "You're in so much pain, aren't you?" But thank God they didn't kill him off, because that just would have been too much.
I agree. So Peter's new solution is just make everyone forget that Peter Parker exists, basically.
Yeah, that's not going to affect the other Peters, is it?
I don't know.
I assumed no, because that would be kind of screwed up to not let them have a say in it. Like, okay, bye. No one's going to know who you are when you get home. So I'm assuming it's only for his universe.
Right.
But I don't know. This movie has a lot of things I think that you could kind of nitpick at and ask questions about.
That's kind of what I was talking about early on. And it's, does this really make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, when I start to think about it, more, I'm like, well, wait a second, what about? And I'm like, you know what? It was just an excuse to do like some cool shit, and I'm glad that they did the cool shit. So I'm not even gonna worry about the semantics, because you could poke holes and stuff all day. But I mean, was it fun and cool? Yes. So that's good enough for me.
Did it make me feel good? It absolutely did.
Yeah, it was worth it to have the three of them side by side. So
and then we get this heartbreaking last moment of Peter goes to the coffee shop where MJ works, and he's going to tell her everything. But then Ned comes in, and they both got into MIT, and they're really happy without him. And he's just like, I can't. He just gets his coffee and leaves.
That was wild to me, because even when Doctor Strange kind of is telling him the deal, like, no one's going to remember you, whatever, I was thinking like, oh, there's going to be something. There'll be like a sign that they know him somehow. And no, really no. Except what my dad said to me when Peter was saying bye to MJ, and when he says like, oh, you're going to forget who I am and all that, my dad turns to me and he goes, take the necklace, give him the necklace, because she's wearing a necklace, and like she could have given him that. And apparently she's still wearing that necklace in the coffee shop when he goes to see her, and Peter gave her that necklace in Far From Home. So I mean, people could just be reading too much into the necklace. I didn't even think about it until my dad said that, and then I saw some more theories, but I don't know that it will play into it at all, but kind of interesting. Like that might be something. That's a cool
there. Theory. Yeah, maybe that could have worked out. I don't know.
But what also confuses me is they know Spider-Man, so all of the events that happened in all of these movies still hold true, but they're just friends with Spider-Man and they don't know who he is.
Um, maybe. Yeah, I hadn't considered that they, that they've hung out with Spider-Man, right?
She's still hurt on her forehead, and I assume everything still happened as it did because everyone remembers Spider-Man. So
right, Spider-Man is still involved with the in-game stuff or the Infinity
so
War.
I guess
so. I don't know. Yeah, like
that's. So I guess Ned and MJ are friends with Spider-Man, but they don't know who he is, which to me seems like we'll just take the mask off and then they'd be like, "Oh, cool, it's Spider-Man is this guy."
It's just, but see, it just be a guy, like it's okay.
Yeah,
he's just a guy.
That's the problem.
But and that Happy knows Spider-Man, right? Because he meets Happy at
that's the other thing
May's
that
grave
made me
in the last
realize.
Scene, and he's like, how'd you know her? Through Spider-Man? Or Peter says through Spider-Man, and Happy says me too. So they both knew Aunt May, obviously, somehow, and they both knew Spider-Man, but Happy has no memory of who Peter is. So it's
which makes me think Ned and MJ must too, but it's
because they both encountered Spider-Man before.
Yeah, this is gonna be really confusing. Like, I don't know how they're gonna bounce back from this, or if they will in the next movie or not.
I don't know. Like a big fear of mine after Endgame was gonna be that they didn't address Endgame enough.
Yeah,
because this is a thing that is so far beyond the comprehension of us normal human beings that like it would have such a profound effect on the entire universe. You know what I mean? Like you can't imagine how terrible this would have actually been. Like, so it's there you can't do the comic book thing where you just move on like everything's okay.
And I think they've done a good job of that. They mention it in
every movie that references it makes Endgame make more sense. Like it's and not to say that I have a lot of problems with Endgame, but it, like that was a big concern of mine because they've they've rolled stuff back a lot in the MCU, like the with Winter Soldier, they dismantled Shield, except at the end of Age of Ultron, they have a helicarrier, like Shield is back, basically. Like it's things like that really bother me.
Or things like in Iron Man 3, it kind of ends with him basically retaring from being Iron Man. But then the first scene of Age of Ultron, he's suited up and fighting with the Avengers, which speaks more to, I guess, I don't know. They just shouldn't have let Shane Black do that, I guess. But I love Iron Man 3, but you can't really end a movie there.
I like it. I think it's fine. It has a lot. It doesn't annoy me nearly as much as it does some other people.
Yeah, but you can't really end it there. And then when you have an Avengers movie coming on the horizon, but I don't know what they're gonna do with Spider-Man. Like, will the next one be about him dealing with no one knowing Peter Parker, or will it be totally like start from scratch, new threats, new?
I kind of hope things. So. The thing I really liked about Homecoming is, like, despite the presence of Iron Man, it's a really personal story for Peter, and it's a really like, I don't want to say low step, but it's like a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man story, and I want more of that in the MCU, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue with all of this was like they seem so dead set on keeping him out of New York for some reason. Like, we've seen Spider-Man in space and Spider-Man in DC and Spider-Man
you fought
and Spider-Man overseas. Yeah. And Spider-Man in wherever they go in Far From Home, all over Europe. Right. And then it was cool to just see Spider-Man with that cool shiny new suit swinging through New York at Christmas time. Like, that was awesome.
I agree. And I love the suit. It's very classic Spider-Man, and I love how shiny the blue is, and
it looked awesome.
And he's got a shitty apartment. Like it's the Peter Parker. Yeah. it's like grown up Peter Parker that we know. Um,
Right.
so I'm really excited for where they take Spider-Man going forward.
Yeah,
It
it's
might be another Spider-Man movie before we see him again. Like they've said they're working on the next thing. Um, but we don't have a crossover movie announced.
yeah.
He might show up in one of these shows. I don't know, but it's
Yeah, I know a lot of people thought he might show up in the Hawkeye season finale since they both take place in New York at Christmas time.
right.
He goes, he swings right over Rockefeller Plaza where the big final battle happens in Hawkeye, but no dice.
And apparently this happens before the Hawkeye finale, it seems,
Uh-huh.
because spoiler alert for the Hawkeye finale, if you haven't watched it, they cut down the Rockefeller tree.
Oh yeah,
So it
that's
would
true. I
probably
didn't think
be
about that.
yeah, like it probably wouldn't be that easy to replace. So
Yeah. Um, man, Hawkeye is great too. That
Hawkeye
was a
is really
great
good.
show. And talk about dealing with the effects of Endgame. That was probably the best to do it so far. Besides
I agree.
Far From Home, I think dealt with it really
Yeah, Far
well.
From Home was really focused on like Tony's death.
Yeah, but then it also, I think it was it kind of showed us like how the blip went for regular people, like we
Right,
were
that's fair.
saying. Like I love the little montage, the tribute to all of the Avengers who died at the beginning.
It's
Um
just like the same shitty videos we all used to make in high school.
it's so funny. It's so good. And then them talking about like because everybody had their questions and their plot holes for Endgame. Like, okay, so what about this and what about this? And they dealt with it really well in Far From Home, where they're like, my younger brother's older than me now, and like this kid who was a freshman, when we were here is now like our age and hot. Like it's weird, and
Excellent.
they dealt with that really well. But yeah, Hawkeye dealt with it well because we it's the first time we saw what it's like to get blipped.
Right.
I figured they were in some kind of like purgatory or something, but it's actually instant. Like you disappear and come back, and you're like,
Yeah,
wait a
they
second.
showed it with Yelena.
Yeah, yeah, which was really cool. But and they showed the blip from some other perspective, I thought too, in another one of these Disney Plus shows, and now I can't remember
They talked
what it
about it
was.
in Shang-Chi for sure. Actually,
Yeah,
they've mentioned it in Shang-Chi and in the Eternals,
yeah, I think they may have mentioned it in every single thing that's come out
and that's
since.
good. Like the more that they do,
Yeah,
the more that I have faith. That's just a
and it makes it feel real.
yes,
Like it
absolutely.
makes it feel like this world is actually lived in. Like when you see random people on the street or in a Steve Rogers musical,
The Steve Rogers musical.
which I
Oh my god!
love.
And yes. Um, any closing thoughts about Spider-Man before we get too off topic again?
Um, it's pretty spot on. Like it's kind of everything you want from
It's
this,
just
and
it was everything we wanted. Like literally
yeah,
everything. It gave me everything
which
I wanted, which is
which
crazy.
which is dangerous to a degree, I think, because
I agree.
I
It is
think
dangerous.
I think fans ask for a lot of things that suck, but this just happened to be something that
Fans are not
was good.
writers. They're not. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're.
because now I see a lot of like, oh, this should happen with the multiverse, and it's like, dude, no, that sounds like shit.
I don't
Why would they
agree.
do that? But they did this the right way, and they made it make sense for Tom Holland's arc, and it all worked. Like, there's definitely a version of this that they could have done that would just not
There
be
was.
good.
If there are 10 versions of this movie that have all this, if that include all the same cast, 8 of
Yeah,
those are terrible. Like
yeah.
there's
Like this could have gone very, very wrong. But
it could have been it could have been somewhere between Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's
yeah, but they were able to like deliver on those fan service moments, but also make it make sense
yeah.
for this universe and for Peter, Tom Holland, Peter, and yeah, it really works, and it could have fallen apart big time, but it does not. And
That's
and
I think it's the highest as far as fan ratings, it's the highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow,
for
that's
viewer,
wild.
not for critics, but for viewer ratings, which is
But
wild.
it had good critic reviews too,
It
which I was
did. No, yeah,
shocked.
it's like 96% or something, which is crazy, but
Yeah,
it's
because
ninety nine
I feel like
percent viewer rating.
people are kind of getting a little bit of the superhero fatigue, and then Eternals got really panned by critics more than I thought it would. I kind of thought they would be more about it,
Right.
but they people love some Spider-Man.
Ain't that the truth?
And this was a fun one. And yeah, like I said, I don't know how they top it, but I'm excited to see where we go from here.
Me too. Thanks a lot, Wesley.
Yeah,
Really,
thanks for having me.
yeah,
I
really,
could talk about Spider-Man for hours.
I could too. We've been talking for an hour and a half now. I think it's time to wrap it up. But
Wow.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, it was fun.
Like I said before, this is it's my boy Wesley. He's the he's on is at the Viewist Productions YouTube channel. So you can go check out his stuff. And if you like this, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to do a video every week, not quite getting there yet. I've been hurt and work is busy and that kind of thing. But I appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good night.